So Danny, thanks as always for running the numbers. This is our June market update, which takes a look at all the closings and data from May, our most recent closed month. We're going to run through real quick. Home sold, which is an overall picture of the market. The average sales price versus average list price, which is how we're doing within the market. Percentage over asking, another metric there. Days on the market, and then price reductions and mortgage rates. So we're going to open up with the number of homes sold, which gives us an idea of how busy the market is happening, and we'll start to dissect within that. So Danny, let's run through the numbers for June.
Yep. So you can see that May continued this trend of a bit of a rebound since the low over the winter, which again is seasonal. So we're up to 2,264 homes sold in the month of May. That is up 8% month over month, which is great. But if you were to scan across the page to the left there, you'll see that we're actually down 8% year over year compared to May of last year, where we had 2,459 homes sold. So, things are improving this year. Again, seasonally, this is what we would expect to happen. Volume of homes sold should continue to go up as we get into the busy season of spring and summer. We currently have a little over 3,100 homes available, which puts us at just under 1.4 months of supply, which historically is still very, very fast. That's very much a seller's market, and that's where things are in terms of homes sold this month.
Yeah, still definitely a seller's market. We're about on par with June of last year, which June used to be typically our high month. And I'm expecting that to be the case coming up, but we'll see, as always. Definitely a seller's market. What is more important is within a seller's market, how are we selling compared to listing? And that's our next chart here, Danny.
Exactly right. So we'll talk you through this. We have you'll notice these two lines, they kind of go up and go down and go up again. Again, this is really a reflection of the seasonality. Things cool off in the winter. They heat up very much so in the spring and the summer. And what we do notice is if you look at the peaks year over year, summer of this year is probably going to be higher than summer of last year, and that was higher than the summer of 2023, and so on and so forth. And so we're seeing that happen already. You can see that the lines are actually coming very close to converging. I actually had to expand the axis on this one chart to go a little bit higher to incorporate those latest dots, right? So we can see that the average original list price was just over 420,000, and the average sold price was not far off from that at 417,000. And so again, you can see that things are up month over month and up year over year as well.
Yeah, that's pretty. This is the chart that I like the best. This is the best indicator of if you're a homeowner, your price, your equity in your house continues to go up. This is essentially the equity indicator. It's on average. Obviously, every house differs, but we've never seen a case where this point last year has been lower, at least since COVID. You just keep going up. It's a supply demand issue. Prices will continue to increase as long as supply is restrained. And another indicator of that is the percent over and under asking. This is what we call the donut chart. Danny runs these numbers as the extreme version. So anything 5% or more above or below whatever the list price is, and how frequently that happens. You can see here on the donut chart, this shifts comparatively, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
number set.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So for the most part, we say that things are normal if they're plus or minus 5% to your asking price. We could quibble about whether that's the right threshold, but that's what we got. That's what we do every month. And it's interesting to see how these things trade. It's most of the time that blue section, which is everything that goes really close to the asking price. So again, within plus or minus 5%. Typically, that's about 2/3. You can see this month at 70% of homes that were sold in May went in that range. Outside of that, you can see that 12% went 5% or more above asking, and 18% went 5% or more below asking. And so again, the trend that we've seen here as things heat up, and when we say heat up, that typically means that there's more people out shopping. That means that there's more than often than not, multiple offers on homes compared to prior months. That's when we start to see things go above asking. And what we've seen here with this trend is That little green section has gotten bigger over the last several months. The orange section has gotten smaller over the last couple of months. So again, this is a very good reflection of the level of competition in the market for the limited supply that we face.
And that's a great indicator of, what to expect once you're on the market. Another thing that we need to point out here is the next chart, days on the market. We need to point this out because this is anomalous, and this is maybe a leading indicator here. We're way more days on the market than I would have expected. And anecdotally, I can tell you that's true. Obviously, if your house is ready to go, if you're very desirable, if you're positioned correctly, you're going to sell quickly and for more money. But on the average, these numbers are way up compared to their seasonal counterparts in the past. And that's really surprising to me. It's almost double on the median, but I'll let you run through them, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, definitely anomalous to your point, and this is one of those watch items for us, right? I mean, the blue line is the average, so that can be skewed. Of course, you got a few things that sat for a very long time that can definitely carry that average up, but the median is a little harder to move, and so I think that's again a watch item. We saw that things, started to pick up again from the winter into the spring, and they were kind of going down, down, down. And now all of a sudden we bump back up by a few days. So 1 month doesn't necessarily make a trend. We'll have to keep an eye on this and really try and figure out if there's something deeper going on. I think you can even see this dynamic maybe played out in the next chart. If you want to tee that one up, Rob.
Yeah, the price reductions have gone up in May, which is unusual. May typically is our lowest price reduction set of the year. And this time it took a little bump up. So we have to dig a little deeper and wonder if people are getting aggressive, if buyers are starting to retract. We don't know yet. Again, one number doesn't make a trend, as Danny said. Let's run through real quick. Compared to last year, we're quite a bit up.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that part of the reason we're up higher now is just we had a higher starting point, right? So if you look at the prior peak, which all the way on the left-hand side there was at 35%, that's, again, over a third of homes that sold in that particular month sold after there was a price reduction. Right. And so, again, not an uncommon thing to happen in the winter. Things slow down. There's less people competing, have to move. You got to get this place to sell. You reduce the price. Right. And that's the way that goes. And you can see that starting at 35%, things went down, down, down. And as you pointed out, May was the low point there. And then they just kind of went back up over the course of the year, which, again, totally normal. But you can see that the peak went even higher than the prior year. So we topped out at 42%. And then as things went over the top and started to come back down as things heated up, we're in the 20s, we're in the 30s. We had 24% when we did this video last month, and basically we're there again this month. So it's up maybe a little bit by 0.5% or so. But seeing this leveling off in May is curious. And again, I think it may play back into what we're seeing in terms of days on market. If something's sitting longer, you're making a price reduction. So I don't know how those two things are playing together, but I think time will tell when we get another couple months under our belt. But yeah, definitely another watch item for us at this point, Rob.
Yeah, that's definitely correlative. Obviously, if there's longer time on the market, longer days on the market, you're more likely to have a price reduction. So that makes sense. Those two go together. Still a seller's market, still very low inventory. We closed out the month 6.85% on the mortgage rates. This has been hovering between, mid sixes and mid sevens the whole time. There are a couple peaks and valleys where they're anomalously high or low. We have not broken either metric, 6 or 8. So in the sevens or in the sixes is about what you should expect if you're looking for a house right now. Keep in mind, so I had this question of the day. When do you think mortgage rates will drop? It's a fair question. I think there's potential with all the economic news that's been happening, and inflation certainly leads to lower interest rates. Typically, that's how that goes. But keep in mind, if rates drop, we are still supply constrained. The fight for houses is going to be way more. So you're actually better off being in a place and refinancing if the rates drop, rather than trying to take on whatever inflation will come with higher bids. So people will bid more to secure the interest rate. If you get like a 5.5 or a 5% interest rate, just keep that in mind. That's going to be a fight. It's going to be the craziest numbers we've seen, especially if supply remains constrained, which it probably will. I think a lot of people want to move. They just don't like the rates, right? We've seen that in the past. If the rates drop to acceptable levels, we'll see a flurry of activity, and prices will shoot up. You don't really want to be part of that. That's kind of a inflationary time. It's definitely a seller's market. So it's a great question. When will mortgage rates drop? The answer is we don't know. But if they do, you don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the one other thing that's important to say, we've been saying it more often over these last year, as we've seen that the supply, as you mentioned, continues to be very much constrained in the market, and the prices, even though they go up and down year over year, they go higher. What that means is, if you look back at this chart, the interest rate has not improved in any material way over the last 12 months. But what has happened is that average sales price for May has gone up another $10,000. And so you think about, not just the cost of finance, but how much you're financing. That's important too. And that's a thing that I think increasingly, buyers need to take into account when they're doing their math is, if I wait another year for the interest rate, what does that do to my actual purchase price? The exact same house, I'm going to be paying 3%, 4%, 5% more. Look at that monthly payment compared to, what's happening today. Just assume the rate's the same. You're going to be paying more then. The benefit of getting in now is you get the appreciation of the house. That's on your side. And like you said, Rob, there may be a chance when rates go down, you can refinance. You can refinance the rate, but you can't refinance the amount that you borrow. And that's kind of the big lesson here.
That's right. So if you're trying to play the market, if you're trying to time the market, that's a losing proposition in several ways. You definitely want the lower interest rate. If you have a house, you can get the lower interest rate later. But you want today's pricing because tomorrow's pricing is going to be worse. The idea of a market crash for housing prices is so unlikely that I don't even know how to quantify it, because if you think about, if everyone has 2 and 3% interest rates, why would they ever sell? So a crash has to be accompanied by mass sell-offs, right? Now, some people are going to get stuck. They're going to be in situations, if prices reduce, most people will just sit on their houses. So it's unlikely that's going to continue to restrain supply. It's unlikely to actually crash prices. A market crash is very unlikely, I think. If the rates go down, prices will spike. So you want to, if you're in a position to move, if you have that in your mind, if that's appropriate to your current situation in life, you should make that move now before interest rates drop. We'll continue to watch this. We have a couple numbers we're going to watch more closely because they are anomalous. If they continue, obviously that's more concerning, may indicate a trend. But for now, we've had anomalous numbers before, and we'll see what happens next month. This is why we do this every month. Danny, always thank you for pulling the numbers, because no other realtor really does this that I know. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.